Well, yeah, I want to record my experience this morning and last night, I suppose. As I think it was a interesting and potentially powerful or something, potentially powerful application of my positive rumination technique, which I guess is what I'm calling it. I don't know. I don't really love that, but it's kind of what it is. To give a quick overview, everyone is aware, I assume, of ruminating. For instance, when someone insults you or something, and perhaps piques an insecurity in some way, and it does seem that we don't, for rumination to happen, that we don't process the emotion fully in the moment. And then what happens is, we have those kind of fucking, visualizations or mental, I don't know, just the thoughts about, beating them up or telling them off and getting the upper hand, you know what I mean? And good thing I didn't say telling them up and beating them off. But we have those thoughts about that kind of maybe serve to nurture our ego or something, or nurture our insecurities. And the thing is, if it's natural, then to me, which rumination definitely does seem natural considering the ubiquity that it exists in amongst us. We all do it, and so I'm not interested in railing against things that are natural to us. My question is, what is the purpose of this thing? So, this negative rumination that we do is the purpose seems to soothe our ego and stuff. And as much as we hate on the ego, perhaps the ego has some, I think that maybe the ego has some utility to it. But I think that I had discovered a long time ago basically what I think is a better application of rumination, which is positive rumination, which is you close your eyes, or I close my eyes, and I have a conversation with someone who has hurt me about, an incident or our relationship, and using fundamental principles I believe in, which is not to negatively ruminate on it, but positively ruminate it. So ruminate on it. So have this conversation of, that a conversation of healing, just like one would be if you really talk to the person. Exactly like one would be if you really talk to the person, with some added benefits of your mind being able to conjure these powerful images of healing that are emotionally provoking. So yeah, I've explained more what it's like in other videos, but many times they have triggered me to cry, and which I believe is emotional processing. Crying is the whole fucking thing we're trying to do for healing, and indeed that happened today in a unique way, which is very interesting and invokes a lot of interesting psychology and pop psychology and dream analysis. So I'll tell you, I had a nightmare last night, which is pretty irregular for me. I do not often have nightmares. I'm sorry, let me back up. Last night I had a kind of depressive bout, transient depressive bout, I would say, for perhaps an hour before I fell asleep. Who knows how long it would have lasted. Which is also fairly irregular for me to feel depressed. I feel like I have this thing that I'm going to say upsets me, almost like baseline, and it would really be great if I could say that in the past, that it upset me in the past. But and maybe that would be the case. Let's see, after this kind of mental breakthrough I had this morning, or at least emotional processing, to say the least. But I had this kind of depressive bout because it just dawned on me what I was thinking was that I am 28 and I haven't had a significant partner or girlfriend in like fucking 10 years. And that thought sometimes really like upsets me. And hopefully again that will be in the past, or that it upset me. So I have to keep that flexibility for myself. Yeah. So yeah, and I fell pretty into this depressive state where I could feel it was pretty encompassing and intense, I suppose, and is the word. And I fell asleep to it. So I guess that's a good entrance right into the dream world. You know, to effortlessly segue, you know, one thought from the conscious to the subconscious, perhaps. But yeah, I had this dream. I'll tell you about the dream. The dream was I go down this, like, there's like kind of a dinner party happening upstairs. I don't necessarily recognize any of the people. It's like maybe 6 people, I think, around this like fairly long wooden table. Maybe up to 8, but like 6. And then I walk downstairs and there's this guy. He's like the homeowner. He's throwing the party. It's an interesting part I didn't necessarily think of earlier. And I walk down this stairs, which goes down and then turns and then a little bit more down. And it's this kind of like long basement. I suppose it'd be like a not a square, but a rectangular shaped basement. And in the basement, I at first don't realize, but then I come to realize, I think fairly quickly, it's like, oh, he's like torturing people or something. And it's really weird. I don't think I necessarily remember the very beginning. Like, at first I come down under some pretense that it's like whatever is happening down here, there's like a person, like I don't even fucking know. Anyways, eventually I quickly realized, like, I'm like watching this video or seeing it firsthand. I think it was a video first. And it's a person like strung up by his hand in cuffs and metal chains from the ceiling. And he had a pretty awful fucking scream of like how bad it was hurting him to be strung up like this. Really. And like the fucking homeowner torturer guy is like, this was basically like the longest time I've tried to string someone up. We're gonna see how long it takes to break them, and so it's strung up a really long time. And that was the context. That wasn't dialogue. I just kind of knew that, or not. I don't fucking know. Recalling dreams is hard. So anyways, I watched this and I immediately, that's where the fucking like, what the fuck is like going on, and I get this like awful fucking feeling. Obviously, as you would if you fucking went in someone's basement house. And I was like, there was thoughts like, why is he sparing me? But I also knew, and it was like, I wasn't sure if this was some like racist type shit, but basically because I'll give you the analysis after. I knew that the other guy was getting it for some, like, he had some quality that I didn't have. Some physical quality I didn't have. Whether that was like race or like how the guy was picking this like demographic of people, I wasn't really sure. It obviously looks like some slavery type shit. I mean, yeah, it's like a torture chamber. So I'm like, all right, man, yeah, like, and I just kind of am like, I gotta fucking get out of here. And I'm like, I gotta kill this person. And this overwhelming feeling of like, I need to kill this person as quickly as possible. Because like every second that this person is tied up is like unbearable to me. Man, it's so funny saying it like that. That is going to be funny when I get into the analysis. So I'm like, yeah, like, I'm gonna go back upstairs real quick, but I'm totally into this, man. Thanks for like having me down here. And I just kind of like go back up the stairs. And as I'm going back the stairs, I walk past the people I'm going to get a knife from the kitchen. I'm gonna stab him. I'm like, I guess I'm gonna stab him in the neck. I think I'm already thinking about like, oh, that's gonna be pretty jarring when I stab this person in the neck. And I go and I get upstairs and I go past the people in the fucking dining room at the table, and I'm like, I have this feeling that I'm like, fuck, like, I don't know if they're cool or not. I don't know if they would help me, or I don't know if they're on his side. And I'm like also scared, like if I go back down there, maybe he'll like get me, you know what I mean? So I'm like, I'd love to be able to tell them and be like, yeah, and if I don't come back up, you know, like come get me. But I'm like, I don't know. And then, you know, I'm like thinking about the knife, and maybe I already have it, it just like appears in my hand, who knows. And that's the fucking dream. Okay, here's my analysis of that dream. Is that like I realized, or what I think the dream was, obviously had to connect it to the fact that I was having this depressive bout, because like I don't have nightmares generally. That's just a little too coincidental, and I think when I overlay my interpretation on top of it, then it's like, especially the fact that I have this emotional breakthrough through my analysis, seems to fucking indicate pretty bulletproof to me that I'm thinking of it correctly. Anyways, what I was thinking about is that like I don't even know how I put it together or where I started from, but anyways, the guy, one big part of where I put it from was I was like, why is that guy getting tortured? And I was like because the way I analyze dreams is just like my associations. What were my associations with the dream? There's different schools of thought of dream analysis. That's mine. So I'm like, why was that guy getting tortured? And I was like, you know, because he was like a different race or something. And I was like, okay, but what does that mean fundamentally? I was like, okay, he has different immutable characteristics than I do, or just different physical characteristics than I do. So he's getting tortured because he has different physical characteristics. And then I was like, yeah. So that was like one of the biggest interpretations, actually. It wasn't entirely as easy as it sounds now. And then I was thinking about like the people upstairs, and I was like, who are they? And I thought that, what did it mean that like I was scared to tell them, you know what I mean? Because I wasn't sure if they would hurt me or help me. Okay? And yeah, it's weird because I interpreted this like from piecing together some things, but I'm forgetting them now, but I still remember my final conclusion. So yeah, I'll just say it then, and if I remember more pieces that help me get to this conclusion, I'll say it. But I ultimately realized it was like me, and the guy torturing me is like also me. He's just a part of me that's like judging myself for like the physical characteristics about myself that I don't like. And I thought that the people at the dinner party upstairs represent like vulnerability. My phone is so hot, bro. Fuck these phones. They are like pumping with radiation. Oh, my car's unlocked. That's not good. The people upstairs represented, yeah, just like people. They were just people, and they represent being authentic or being vulnerable to other people, and my like insecurity of that, like, is that going to help or hurt me if I go and maybe talk to some friends and be like, I've been single for 10 years, I feel like a huge loser, what can I do to help? I'm really suffering, you know? It's kind of hard to say you've been single for 10 years. That makes me feel like a fucking loser. And or at least no like a significant relationship. And that was my ego talking right there. And so yeah, so that was pretty much it. And just thinking, and so I remember I woke up and I was like, I didn't think about, I could use my positive rumination technique on this dream. But then I had this feeling, I was thinking about it. I'm obviously going to think about my dreams pretty hard, or I do. And something stuck out to me. I was like, damn, you know, there's one thing about that I felt something really hard, which is when the guy was getting tortured, I felt this fucking like sadness, like such sadness. And I was like, that's interesting. And so I was like, I wonder, and I think I turned on the Nature of Daylight, which is a song I used during like mushroom therapy. I think it might be a song handed to us via Providence. Of course, I don't really believe in anything religious, but that song has really incredible ability to invoke emotional response. And I started listening to it, and I was like, and I thought about just that feeling that I had seeing that guy chained up, who is me, and didn't know that just yet. And I was like, can I like cry over this? And I started. In fact, I felt the tears welling up in my eyes, but I didn't get to it. And then at that point, it dawned on me, what if I do the positive rumination thing? So I had a positive rumination and visualization and experience of taking over, assuming my role, which was my role in the dream, the guy who's discovering all this. And from there, it just I went downstairs. I can't remember every part of it. I remember the most powerful part. And I think it started with me unshackling the guy. I said I couldn't stand him being there for a second, so that was the first thing I was going to do. And I think there was parts of and then I think I turned to the torturer. And with the torturer, this was actually the most powerful part. I had, with positive rumination, I want to infuse positive values into all the pathological things that are going on. And so I basically had this visualization of this torturer understanding now with a positive, clean, and non-confused, healthy conscience what he had done. And the gravity of that was so overwhelming to him. I mean, there was times where he was just screaming no, no, he couldn't believe what he had done to this person, having resolved whatever trauma or negative lens he was looking through. Is now he finally sees oh, this is a person I was torturing this whole time. And this was very powerful. That made me cry a lot, because also I'm talking about myself. I'm talking about parts of myself, the part of me that is torturing myself, judging my physical appearance so hard. And that was a good amount. That spent a good amount of time. Just there was a good amount of time just screaming no, no, no. And it was tough. And then there was parts where the tortured person and the torturer kind of come together, and the tortured person, I think, is kneeling. The torturer is now prone, just on his stomach, hiding his face. Just at one point he dares to touch the foot of the tortured person. Just is even trying to have reconnection, but is just so ashamed of the this pain that he brought this person. And there's never actually full oh, everything is okay, which actually felt really fine to me, because there was just objective understanding between the two parties of what had happened. And it was non-judgmental. Yeah, it was non-judgmental, I suppose it was. But they actually never, I don't think they ever hugged. I don't know if we did. I don't remember. If we did, then it was all three of us at the same time. I don't know. But there was definitely a very, what's the word I'm looking for? Not morbid, but serious recognition of what had happened. They didn't just hug and everything be oh, it's so fine, dude. But the guy was still not judging him, and because he was also infused with this kind of superhuman understanding and love, really is what it is, that he wasn't judging. He was just we're all just kind of sad for the state of the world a little bit. In fact, the world at one point became a visualization I saw, because I was just I know that we're all just a reflection of our environment. I was processing that as well. And yeah, and there's parts, a lot of times in my visualizations, what I represent for kind of all-knowing, super intelligence that helps people understand and process, or just love, is they illuminate with white light. And there was times where they both kind of were faceless, but just white light, looking at each other through the face and the head. So that was an interesting visualization. And I know I interacted with the tortured person a little bit and was just feeling fucking sorry for him, but oh yeah, there was that. There was a time, let me think, yeah. There was a point where just this white light. Oh yeah, because all the people come downstairs. This is actually a part throughout the whole thing. All the people come downstairs, and I was very aware that what this represented was just was consciousness, kind of everyone, or me, like, having my problem of feeling like insecure about the way I look, like, observed by people, and having light shed on it and consciousness shed on it, which absolved the problem. And so they were actually standing around us for a lot of that. And then I think at one point, like, they kind of just start spinning, and they all just like turn to light, and we're like engulfed in this like ring of light, and even that like goes around my body and shit, which is kind of honestly a visualization that I've like, you know, adopted from other people's. Like, a lot of people do this, like, imagine light through you, and it's never actually that powerful for me, but I did it. And I mean, my mind just does it. I don't resist what happens. It's just kind of like free flowy, whatever kind of pops up. And it turned like into a ball, and then it kind of came out of the dream. It was just like talking about, or like the visualization was just like my body engulfed in light. That was all right. That one didn't make me cry that hard, but the other stuff made me fucking cry hard. Yeah. I guess one thing that was interesting was like this feeling of like again, I already said it, but it wasn't like they grasp each other's hands and rejoice. It was very somber and serious. Like, you just tortured a person for a very long time, like, but it was like still non-judgmental at the same time. Just like the guy, like, just kind of like watching the torturer just like break down, understand the gravity of his transgression, and just being like, yeah, that is what happened. But he doesn't really like talk. He just like watches, and the people just like watch. And it's very interesting. I almost can't explain what it evoked in me. It's very interesting. I wish I could remember more. Oh, the wrists. Yeah, at one point, like, because he was shackled by his wrists, he like shows him, like, or maybe the other guy like grabs like the wrist because it did a lot of damage to his wrist. Actually, I don't have very large wrists, so that ruminated with me. I felt like it was in regard more to some insecurities about my physical body as well, being maybe like not very big or something, and so that kind of spoke to me as well. It was very beautiful. I'm running out of time. I wish I could remember better all the parts of my visualization, but it was powerful, and I didn't stab him. So yeah, and no one got kicked in the chest, which is new. Usually